John Johnson met her at Misrule, and all he said was, wow. And so, you see, now she's going to really get worried about what I'm going to say even more than that. And that simply is this. Pranvera was featured in an article in USA Today, which talked about what amazing things that she was doing for her country. And I know that she's going to speak a little bit about that. Of Kosovo, by raising the country's spirits through astronomy. What kind of a better message could you have? And so therefore, you've already seen it. You can see it from Abby. You hear it from John. You hear it from me. You would hear it from Hap. All of us are very proud to know Pranvera Hyseni.
Well, I don't expect you to actually understand Albanian. I was just kind of opening this. But anyway, thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, John, and all the NCD staff for inviting me here. It's my first time in Nebraska, and I'm enjoying it so much. And hopefully I will be able to see the dark skies tonight, because I was unable to do that last night. But this is an amazing event. I really enjoyed the both talks earlier by Abby and Dr. Gaskin. It's amazing to hear about astronomy. It's a science that actually gathered all of us here together. And as a matter of fact, astronomy, it's a really complex science, but not all astronomy is studied by professionals. We have a lot of amateurs that do astronomy, and there are people that think that is it a waste of time, and there are people that think that it's a huge impact. Because astronomy is the only science that amateurs and professionals can cooperate with each other. Anyway, I am from Republic of Kosovo. I don't know how many of you have heard of this little country in Eastern Europe, but it's fairly a very young country. It's actually only 11 years old because we got our Independence Day in 2008, and we're happy for that. But as part of this, my country's history is really, it's really a long history. Even though it's a small country, it has a huge impact in so many things. My country, when I talk about it, many people don't know where it is, but when I talk of Yugoslavia, they usually do, because my country was part of former Yugoslavia before. And unfortunately, in the late 90s, we had a war with Serbia, in fact, where we were splitting from Yugoslavia. My country was having a difficult time before that, because we are Albanians. I am Albanian and I speak Albanian, and I live in Kosovo. Kosovo and Albania were a huge country before, centuries before. But they were split because of the politics and the wars and everything that happened after that. So the nation, Albanian nation in Kosovo, was not really having everything possible. It was not having the freedom. No Albanian schools were allowed. You would not be able to hold an Albanian flag because it would be dangerous. You could go to jail. And the worst of all, you would not be able to hold an Albanian book at your home because you could get arrested. So imagine, how would you feel if you're living in America but you're not allowed to get schooled in English in America? That would be horrible. That's not what you call freedom. So when our people was fed up with that, this really bad war started, and it was really, really bad. I was only 4 years old. It was 20 years ago, and I lost family members in that war. But again, I'm alive here because of United States, because of NATO that interfered and stopped the genocide and everything that was going back then. And right now, I'm very thankful to all of you, to every American, for making this happen, because to me it means a little life. summer when I go back from here. I have a lot of interests, not many I would say. I like very much forensic science. I always wanted to become a homicide detective or work for a bomb squad or something like that. It's always dangerous stuff. But since my parents didn't like that very much, the idea, I kind of switched to my old childhood hobby. So during the 1999, when Kosovo was still in the war, and people were really very much shocked and from everything that was going on at that time, but something spectacular was happening in the sky. It was a partial solar eclipse, visible from Kosovo, right there. So we didn't get to see the totality, but just 95% of the sun's coverage. I was 4 years old. I didn't know what a solar eclipse is, and so didn't many people back then, because they were really not informed a lot about astronomy, what's going on out there, why eclipses happens. But my grandfather, he took a bucket filled with water because of course we didn't have telescopes or solar glasses or cameras. And we tried to look at the eclipse through the reflection in the water. I was a young child, but for me it was very exciting. That was one of the moments that actually made me think for the first time, like, what's out there in the sky? And what can we see? There is something bigger than us. And I wanted to learn more about these planets and about the sun and about the stars and the Milky Way and everything. But the worst thing was that I was born in a country with no astronomers, with no observatories, no institutions or departments that actually do astronomy or astrophysics. And all of you, I am sure that you got inspired for astronomy because you either went to a star party or you were inspired by Carl Sagan or by the Apollo program or by your dad buying you a telescope. I didn't have any of these. We didn't have TV until 2001. And even if I wanted to read, we didn't have a lot of literature in Albanian that talks about astronomy. And that's why I had to actually learn English somehow by myself to make sure that I would be able to go on the internet or read books in English, even though my English is really not good, so don't get impressed. But, okay. So, I always wanted a telescope, but it was difficult because in my country you don't just go out there in the town and go to a store or Walmart and find a telescope. We don't have any telescopes or people that sell them. So it was very impossible for me to have one to look for skies. I always dreamed to have one. And my parents couldn't do that for me. So in 2009, social media was becoming very popular. And I was learning English also by Google Translate. And I was using Google Translate to communicate with other astronomers from neighborhood countries, from Europe, from United States. And suddenly, I met this guy, Dragan Radmilovic, who after we talked a few times, could barely understand him, he said that he wanted to actually give me a telescope. And then it was kind of a surprise. I mean, who would you give a telescope that, doesn't even know you on, just through Facebook? But then he really meant it. He came to Skopje in Macedonia. My dad went there. They met. They only had 5 minutes to meet. And then my dad traveled again back home overnight. I was awake all night waiting for the telescope. And I was so excited. It's just a 3-inch reflector. It's a small telescope, but for me it was like bringing me the Hubble Space Telescope or something like that because it was my first one and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how planets are going to look like. I remember when I pointed that back for the first time at the moon, seeing the craters and seeing Saturn's ring and Jupiter moons. And all these very simple stuff for all of us now, it was a huge deal. But then I was taking this small telescope around in other schools and in my school and attending science fairs, and everyone was excited. Even when we didn't look through it, at least we could look at the telescope. It was still exciting. Indeed it was. But, okay, I'm too far. So in 2015, until then, a couple of years later, I kind of developed astronomy outreach of Kosovo because I was having a lot of contacts with people internationally. Everyone wanted to support me because they all were aware of Kosovo not being a very huge country, having a terrible past, and trying to actually bring something new, bring astronomy. And over a year or 2 years, I managed to actually collect 7 telescopes and mounts, cameras, books, sky atlases, and all this stuff that were donated to me by astronomers, mainly from the United States and all over the world. It was just great. But I wanted to found an organization for the very first time in Kosovo because we don't have an astronomy program. And I named it Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo because I was dedicated to popularizing the science among the community. I was having these telescopes here, very small ones, solar telescopes, and we were having a solar eclipse, a partial one, not so interesting. But when I did the 7, it was the very first time doing this as Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo on the public square of the capital city of Pristina. And guess what? All these people showed up to view the eclipse. And I was by myself. So managing all these people, it wasn't so easy. But it was amazing to actually see the interest. Because this was for the very first time that someone decided to get the telescopes out there and share them with the community, with the people of our country. It's not like in America that you do star parties every year, you have events in the town, in the schools, everyone has a telescope in your balcony. It's not like that in my country. Having a telescope is very rare. And if you tell someone in Kosovo that you have a 10-inch telescope, it's like, wow, they will look you different. Because that's the difference from other countries. That's the difference in the country from where I'm from. And over the years, it's been 5 years since I founded AOK, and we have had thousands of activities. We are focused mainly going in the schools, reaching for young kids, for students at the university. We also go to the public squares of every city. We want to reach for the people. We want to give the opportunity to everyone in our country to look in the telescope, to have the feeling, to have a taste of observing, to see the sun, to see the moon, the planets, galaxies, everything that is possible to look through our small telescopes. And it's always exciting. It's amazing to see how much interest we have. And one of the things that I noticed, which is very the opposite from other places, I would say, is that in my organization, we are right now about 200 members. And all of us, the oldest guy that we have in our group is actually this guy, 33 years old. Our problem is, my problem is, I can't get the old people interested in astronomy. That's my problem. But it's still amazing to have the youth interested because they are the future and they are the change. So anyway, this was a little story about AOK. I have this picture here. It's Comet Lovejoy. And why I'm showing it here is because this comet was discovered by Terry Lovejoy using an 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain. So yeah, we can discover comets and other objects using small telescopes. And this keeps me going. This keeps me believe that amateur astronomers are making a huge impact in astronomy. And all of us here should not feel sad that we don't have a degree in astronomy. We should feel proud because we are making the huge impact. The large observatories, they have really long focal length telescopes and very little field of view. So they're always focused in very small parts of the sky. And it's up to us, amateurs, to look for the rest and find new things. So never feel like you're never going to find something new because you still have the chance. And then we have we have more things that amateur astronomers can actually do and are fascinating. We can do asteroids occultations. When an asteroid, which is a lot closer to us than the stars, it's passing in front of a star, it's occulting that star. And if we look at it, depending at which part of the sky or which part of the Earth's place is going to be visible at, we can look at this and by getting a few observations by various people, we can actually detect the shape of the asteroid, which is amazing. We can do that with small telescopes with 10 inches, 12. And I had the opportunity to have such an experience when I visited Australia, Sanford Observatory, and we were looking through a 16-inch meat. We were trying to look for this occultation, but we didn't see it. But this doesn't mean that we wasted our time. Because even if we don't see it, you're still helping to tell the rest of the team that, hey, the shape didn't come this way, the shape didn't come this way, so the shape of the asteroid, it's kind of different. It's not coming on my way. So you can still contribute even if you don't see something. Okay? This guy is Tim Puckett. Maybe some of you have heard of him. He has an observatory and he discovered a really famous supernova. It was the supernova in Messier 51, very known object, and 94, a year before I was born. Gosh, this makes me look old. But anyway, he did this discovery, and it's amazing because he's just an amateur. He was just pointing at the galaxies, and then just suddenly it happened to be a supernova that night, and he found it. But it wasn't just this one. Him and his team are credited with the discovery of 394 supernovas. Can you believe that? It's just crazy to think about it, like how many supernovas they found out there. And universe is big. It's impossible for all these observatories in the world to cover everything. So all of us have an opportunity to look up there and find something one day. And my friends, Greg and Peter at BOSS team in Australia, they also found a supernova in this object, which I don't really know this object's name. If anyone knows that, we can say it.
Centaurus A.
Great. But anyway, it was really nice. I read this new newspaper. They're both amateurs. I visited their observatory there. I spent a few days with them. They have really simple stuff. They have a couple of CCD cameras. They have 2 or 3 telescopes, and they keep looking at galaxies and blinking the images and finding new stuff. They discovered 158 supernovas. Great. And then something else that amateurs actually are very active, and we all can do, is looking at the light curves of the asteroid. What we can do, how we can look to that, is actually when an asteroid in the sky is passing and we can see it, it's actually rotating at the same time. So every asteroid reflects the sun that comes from the sun toward us. And by the reflection, we will actually get a light curve. And by studying this light curve, we can learn how fast is the rotation of the asteroid, what is the shape of it. We can also get the shape from that. And it's very exciting because we can do this just with some small equipment. For example, this is asteroid Bennu. It has a fairly symmetric shape, and it's not very easy, or it gives you like not a very nice light curve, I would say. But this one, good, because you can see how the light is changing when it rotates, and we would get a really cool curvy light curve from this object. But if we are looking at an asteroid right here, and if the asteroid's orbit is on the other side, everything can change. Everything can be more complex. For example, this asteroid, how in the heck are we going to measure the light curve? It's really complex, but today they have made all these possible softwares that we can actually measure all the light curves from this asteroid. I don't know why the reflector is kind of fading away, but... And this one is just observatories. I don't know where they are, but the point of this is that these observatories and a lot more across the globe, they are registered at the Minor Planet Center, and they do regular observing of asteroids and near-Earth objects, and they report them to the Minor Planet Center. So you can use some softwares which are actually for free. This one, Astrometrica, is actually free for 100 days, and then you can pay a small fee after that. But it's a very easy program to use. It has a catalog, a star chart, and when you get a CCD image, it's going to recognize the stars in the field. And then if there is a new object that is not being recognized, that could be something new. So this is how you can actually analyze your CCD images and how to find new objects. For example, if Minor Planet Center is going to give coordinates of an asteroid that was discovered a night before, so only one person has seen this object, there should be a second person to confirm that, if it's true or not. So you get these coordinates at the right time, you put that in the software, and you tell your telescope to slew to that part of the sky, you take an image, you go in Astrometrica, and then you see if that object is there or not. If it's there, then you can automatically report to the Minor Planet Center and tell them that yes, this is a new discovery and I'm confirming it. And it's very easy, because all of you can do it. I'm sure all of you have good telescopes, because every American does. But here I was in Argentina. I am on this trip. I left home over a month ago. I've been in Switzerland, in Argentina, in the Bahamas, in America, and a few places, and I'm here finally. So it's been quite overwhelming. But I was down in Argentina to view the total solar eclipse. It was amazing, by the way. But this is my friend Cesar. He has an amateur observatory. He has a C14 there, and what he does, he stays up all night looking at these near-Earth objects and confirming them for the Minor Planet Center. So I was very excited because my interest in astronomy, I have a lot of interest in astronomy, but asteroids and near-Earth objects is one of my favorites. So we're trying to confirm one of these asteroids, and when we found it, it was very small. You can see the star trails. All these are stars, but only this one hasn't moved because the telescope was pointing at that. And you can see my face when we found it. I was like, oh my God. I was really, really excited because I was part of confirming a new discovery, and that means a lot. But actually, I was very lucky to have one of these bodies named after my name by the Minor Planet Center. And I was overwhelmed because this is the first Albanian asteroid, I would call. And it's not very small, not very big either, 8 miles in size. But I was very curious to look at it and see what its shape is, and also how fast it rotates and all of this. But of course I was not being able to do that from Kosovo because I don't have all the equipment to do that. But this image was actually taken by one of the telescopes in Hawaii. But once I came to the United States, I wanted with my friends at our observatories to look at it. So with my friend Hal Griffin from South Carolina, we have been trying to look for this asteroid for a year. And it's been really difficult because the asteroid was on the other side of the sun, so we have to wait for a couple of months until it rises up again. However, we found it. I don't know why my this asteroid, this photo was taken from my friend Hap and I, from his telescope, 12.5-inch. And once we found it, Astrometrica automatically recognized this object. You can see my name in this catalogs program, and I was so proud. Yay! But the point here, it's not just seeing this object. The point is looking at it and taking images for quite a while and then trying to get a light curve. But this takes quite a few months to detect all the data and then get the light curve and get to analyze it and then try to see what's next. Because it's not easy. It takes a lot of efforts and a lot of time and a lot of work and good equipment also. But this is, I'm just going to change the slides like this because I couldn't do an animation for some reason, but I took this image in South Carolina with Hap's telescope. I went to the Minor Planet Center. The original plan was Hap and I would go to his observatory and stay until midnight and take some photos, but then we ended up staying until 5 in the morning because I was like, okay, just one more. And then it was amazing because I went to the Minor Planet Center and we were looking at these coordinates of an asteroid that was discovered in the same day. And no one confirmed it yet. And I was trying to look at it, I was trying to see where it is, and it's not that one, so don't get excited. We couldn't see it because it was really faint. It was almost 20th magnitude. It could be like really faint. Or maybe I just didn't analyze the photo very good. However, even if we found it, it would be quite a problem to kind of report it because you have to have a registered observatory in the Minor Planet Center, like I mentioned earlier. So if you are a regular observer with a registered observatory, then you can just report your data that you collected, and you could be a hand to the Minor Planet Center. And the point is like, why observe all these asteroids? The question after all is like, why look at these bodies? Why do we care? Why waste our time at looking at them and seeing a moving animation there? It actually is very important. Not many people get that because these are the things that actually can attack us. We can look at black holes, we can look at anything, quasars and all that, but you're not going to come to Earth. Come on. I mean, these guys can really attack us. And it's very important to keep an eye out there and learn their new orbits. Because there are asteroids that are discovered and we have no clue where are they going. Are they pointing at us? Are they going to hit Earth? So if we do a lot of observations, if we hand it to the Minor Planet Center, they're going to find the orbits by our observations, and they're going to see if this isn't a serious body that is going to actually attack us or something like that. So it's very important. We all remember the Chelyabinsk in Russia in 2013. It shocked us all. It just came boom. We all didn't expect it. And then even people that are not in astronomy were like, oh my God, what the heck? Because it is important, and we should remind to everyone that it's very important to look at them and actually report these observations. That's why I'm very interested in these bodies. And I hope my asteroid is not going to come here. Another asteroid that I observed, it was really bright, 11 magnitude. I was just kind of goofing off and just pointing at it, but it was really cool to look at it. It was really bright, so kind of a nice little kid. But I was very happy to find it, and of course learn to use the software a little bit more. But I don't know, you can't see it up there, but this is like, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you telescopes that makes you happy. We all know that astronomy is a very expensive science. I know that all of you have spent thousands of dollars in your equipment, buying the right filters, the right eyepieces, the right mounts to do really good
guiding and telescopes and cameras especially, all of that can really cost a lot. But I think at some point it's worth it. But at my point, I didn't really spend a lot of money on my equipment because I have had everything sent to me just to keep working. And I was very lucky to given the opportunity to travel to lots of places around the world, meet astronomers, visit observatories, get to learn about astronomy and observing and all that. I'm just going to point some of the things. These are the telescopes that we do astronomy outreach in my country. That is the largest telescope in the country, an 8-inch. So yeah, you can see the difference. I go to Texas Star Party, or even here, I walk around the fields, I talk to these guys, and they're like, yeah, I have a 30-inch telescope, but I think I'm going to sell it and buy a bigger one because this is too small, you know? They see it like it was a 3-inch. And I look at them like, what the heck, dude? Our largest telescope is an 8-inch. This is the Texas Star Party. I was invited there to be a keynote speaker 2 years ago. It was my first time coming to United States. I love United States. I'm happy and proud for all the help you have given us to first bringing us the freedom and the second, giving us the knowledge and the opportunity to get all this experience, and especially for me in the field of astronomy. I was very happy to meet all these enthusiast people with great telescopes and also travel even further. They took me to McDonald Telescope. You can see how huge that is. I think it's 107-inch. It's a professional observatory. They do a lot of research, and they have even larger telescopes there. I think they have a 10-meter reflector telescope, something like that. I can't remember. I also met with Don Pettit, and I was just really happy because for the very first time I was given the opportunity to see real big telescopes, to learn how scientists really work and how other astronomers can put all their work together. I was also at Mount Wilson Observatory, and it was very amazing to visit the 100-inch telescope and also a 60-inch telescope. And also go to other observatories like Palomar and Lick Observatory that was mentioned here earlier, and I can't remember, Kitt Peak and Mount Graham, Mount Lemmon, all over United States. It was amazing because these are some great observatories, and some really great scientists have worked with them, and they have collected data and made really great discoveries. Among my travel, I've had opportunity to speak at various conferences across the country and get to meet with astronauts that actually walked on the moon, like Charlie Duke, and also meet Michael Collins with the Apollo 11. Also, not just them, but also meet other astronauts from the Apollo, from Skylab, Gemini, Space Shuttle, and all of them. It's like for the first time meeting an astronaut, getting to hear their personal story, that they were in space or walked in the moon, not just seeing it on TV, not just reading it, but talking to the real, actual person. Then I also was able to go to 4 NASA centers in the United States. Of course, the most exciting one was the Kennedy Space Center, when I was able to view the Delta IV Heavy launch that launched Parker Solar Probe last year in August to the sun. I viewed the launch from the top of the VAB building. I was very happy to get media press, kind of license, how should I call that? But it was my first launch, and I was having a great point of view, and I was just really going crazy over that. I also was invited at NEAF, Northeast Astronomy Forum. Many of you maybe attended. It's a wonderful place, but I recommend to you when you go there, leave your wallets home because you can get a lot of telescopes there and you can spend a lot. And then I also got to visit the meteorite crater in Arizona, which is my favorite because it's asteroid. That's And also to see the total solar eclipse, I was in Tennessee, and I was just lucky to be on the way when, the eclipse happened, to be here in the United States, and I saw it. And of course, the eclipse in Argentina was also fabulous this year. And this is, I think, Shadow Observatory in somewhere in California, Orlando. Oakland, not Orlando, gosh. This is the Yerkes Observatory that actually has the largest refractor telescope in the world, a 40-inch. And Edwin Hubble actually has been there, has used it, and they're kind of sister observatories with Mount Wilson, if I'm not wrong, and just to learn the history and all that, to get to visit it, it was just really great. And just wanted to show you, because I'm not going to keep you all night to talk for my traveling. This is the map that I've traveled in 2018 for 6 months in the United States, non-stop. So it was not, very easy to keep up with all that, but it was just really amazing because it was an experience. I have never had the opportunity to work, to visit, or talk to astronomers because we don't have astronomers in my country. No one came to me to bring a telescope and say, hey, Pran, look at the moon. No one did that. But I had to start it myself. I had to have a telescope to manage to have it and to manage to go out there and get other people excited and also convince thousands of astronomers around the world to help me out that today my country could actually have something. And we're going to have. Because I also managed to convince the government of Kosovo to help us, and this was the hugest step. We met with all the ministries, and I was telling them, guys, it's important to have an observatory. Why not? Everyone in the world has. Every country that I know of, they have an observatory except for us. And I wanted to make that happen. But believe me, talking to politicians, it's not as easy. They just don't care. Because, they are not dedicated for science and astronomy especially, like we are. They think looking at the stars is just a waste of time. They don't get it. But by doing all these activities, by traveling around the world, by being able to manage to bring astronomers in Kosovo and do all these things, finally government opened their eyes and said, yes, we might help you. We made an amendment to the Parliament of Kosovo with my board. That is my board, my great board that actually works so hard. So the Parliament of Kosovo held their session for 2019 to share the budget for this year and to see what we should do. And it was a 16-hour session of Parliament talking non-stop. And we followed that for 16 hours. It wasn't fun listening to all of these talks for 16 hours, politicians and all these things going on. But finally, at 1 a.m. in the morning, we have had 68 deputies, which was all the deputies in the hall, 68. All of them actually voted yes to our observatory. And finally, our country is actually going to have an observatory in a planetarium. Because it's not driven good in the photo. It's not gonna be like that in real. But anyway, it was a really hard challenge to do all this because first of all, we have professional architects in my country, but none of them have ever designed an observatory before. So we have had to ask help from international people to help us with a planetarium, how we are going to manage to make the dome, what about the observatory, what about the telescope, and everything that is going to go inside there. But of course, none of the astronomers hesitated to offer us help, starting with Jack Dunn, that is helping us with the planetarium, with everything, with the designing, with what we should get there, what we should not, what projector. He just donated a computer and also a mirror projector for our planetarium. We have had Celestron donated us a C14-inch telescope that will go right there. And that is going to make the largest telescope in Kosovo. And I'm so proud because it's going to allow us to look at more asteroids. And that's amazing. But I just wanted to say that my point coming here, and talking to all of you. It's amazing to get to meet all of you and hear of your interest and experience in astronomy, but I just wanted to let to know everyone, especially you young kids and students, that never feel like you're really useless. Never feel like you can't do something. Because if I tell you that I come from a village, from a farmland, I'm a farm girl. I grew up with the cows in the field. I grew up at 5 age without a TV. I didn't have a telescope until the age of 15. And I didn't have all of these, but today I'm traveling the world and I'm establishing the first observatory for my country. Then what can't you do with all the opportunities here? I wish I was born in America, because all the opportunities here, I could be an astronaut for sure, maybe. But yes, I'm just telling you that don't get things for granted. Use the opportunity, go out there, get to study, go to so many labs that you have here. I don't have any of this opportunity, and I feel so sad for my friends back home, because everyone is so sad because they don't have these opportunities. Everyone wants to leave the country and go live somewhere else because Kosovo is not providing what I want. And that's what should we not do. I don't want to leave Kosovo because I love, it's my home. I want to make it better. I want to work for it. And I want all of my friends to work to make our country better and get it recognized internationally for good things. I don't want my nation and my country to be recognized because of the wars, because of the genocide and everything that happened in the past. I want my country to be known because we have great scientists, we have talented students, and we have great facilities to actually look and do research in the science, all sciences. And all of that can happen by working together, by working hard, and never giving up. Thank you very much.